So welcome to this week's Precision Podcast. And I'm thrilled to have my dear friend Serena Evans join me this morning. We're going to talk about the challenges that the menopause has brought for us personally, but also Serena will shed a bit of her professional expertise as a practice nurse onto this conversation. So welcome, Serena. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And I said before that it was so lovely for us to get back in touch with the power of modern technology. This is something I never thought I would find myself doing at 53, but anyway.
Especially doing Pilates online.
Yeah, I know. I love it though. And I think you like it too, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I love it. When you first advertised on Facebook, and you're the other side of the country, I was like, just such a shame that you're not closer to me, you know. And then you went live online, and I was like, yes, I'm in.
I know. Well, thank you so much for that. So we're both women of a certain age, and it presents us with a lot of chat. We've had different experiences of this process, and I know when we were chatting the other day, you did share that you were taking or having hormone replacement therapy, and that's something that I've struggled to actually be offered. Actually, with all the struggles that I've had, every time I go to the doctor, they just seem to want to give me antidepressants, which hasn't really been something I was keen to do. So then I end up battling through in my own, weird and wonderful way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be first line, the antidepressants. They are given when you pass the point of coping with, well, let's put it this way. Someone described menopause as it's got an endless list of symptoms. And one of the biggest and probably most crippling one is anxiety and depression. And I remember finding myself in a chemist wanting to ask the pharmacist for something very simple. And all of a sudden I started having palpitations and almost like an anxiety attack. And I got so cross with myself. I was like, what is the matter with you? You're only asking if this item needs to be in the fridge or not. You're not sitting your finals, you know. The life does not depend on this small conversation that is going to take place. And just like you, I wanted to be the brave woman who went and trudged through menopause symptoms. And unfortunately, I ended up with depression to the point where I had to take antidepressants. And it was appropriate for me to take them at that point. But I think we all leave this HRT too late because either the old stigma, because it has been around some research, which actually was dismissed as a research in the end after many years of researching what they research, if you want to put it that way, and all to do with stroke. And the risk of stroke is quite minimal from HRT itself. It's more lifestyle, weight, diet, and so on. So that there are other risks there and family history of cardiac disease. So that, I think, had a negative impact, and we all, as women, like, HRT, don't talk with me about HRT. But I have become a great advocate for HRT. I always advise my patients, look, if you can't cope, give it a go.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't hurt to just take it for a month and see what happens. We all taken the pill, the contraceptive pill, and we didn't go and say, oh, don't give me the contraceptive pill. If anything, you went and wanted it, you know. It's the same, more or less, it's the same medication, same hormones, sexual hormones, only slightly differently balanced to suit our needs, whatever age we are. And of course, there are more clinical things to consider, which your doctor will consider anyhow before they put you on HRT. So, but I
Yeah.
would say don't suffer with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel disappointed in myself really that I let it get to the stage that I have. And I really think that's unnecessary now. The more that I am embracing this world of menopause health, if you like, and the more I become better informed myself, the more I realize that I was really, thinking of it as medication, but actually all we're doing is replacing a hormone that was there in our body all along.
Exactly.
And had an important part to play in lots of metabolic processes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think for me, my mindset has shifted, and I'm just the thing was, I never pressed for HRT because it's your experience with one doctor who says to you, oh, well, whenever you're having periods, you haven't got the menopause, so therefore we don't give HRT. And when you've been told that from a doctor, you just kind of listen to it. And I think that was the wrong advice as well, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Generally, what I would say, in each practice, there is a doctor which is specializing, tends to be women, in women's health. And I would just ask your own surgery saying, who is the specialized doctor in women's health? Because they all got an area of expertise, but not everyone is specialized in one area. I mean, they're not specialists as in they're specialists in menopause or whatever, but they have one area where they are lead in that surgery. So they tend to know more. They tend to be not so scared to prescribe it because, of course, there are risks with every tablet that we take. Risks with paracetamol at the end of the day, with anything. Whatever medication, either over the counter or prescribed, is the same. But go for the person who knows more than the others.
Yeah, if you can get in with them. And right now that's a bit of a difficulty, isn't it, with getting to see anybody? But no, I think that's definitely the case, that some will know more than others, but it does tend to be a bit of a lottery. And you mentioned to me that when we were talking about the NHS choices websites, that you found there was a lot of good information there for people.
There is very good information, and what I like about our website is not emotionalized, is not hyped in any way. It's just pure science. Basically, this is what the symptoms are, these are your options, and there are a lot of options there, including exercise. In fact, I found that in some areas, most of the areas of the country, but the Southwest, there is this group that they go out and volunteer doing things. So if you're not a great keen exercise person, you don't want to pin yourself down in a gym, you don't want to pin yourself down in the front of a screen and follow someone's exercises, and you were doing a makeup, which I actually love doing and making, and give me a spade and a shovel and I'll be out in the garden and I'll get dirty, I love gardening. And I thought, oh, great. I can't remember from the top of my head what it's called, but it's this group that they go and they do things, they volunteer. So you can make friends, one, because, at that our age, children go away from home, university, or they leave. It's time for us to kind of start a different chapter in our life. So if you want to make friends who've got similar interests, it's great. So if anyone lives anywhere but Southwest, there is a link on exercise, on a menopause page.
Oh, okay.
It will just guide you to different ways of exercising.
Well, so I mean that's right, isn't it? You know, it's finding what works for you. And I'm a big advocate, like you, of the great outdoors. You know, trying to get you 10,000 steps in every day, and do that in nature if you possibly can. And yeah, by all means, I mean, lots of National Trust properties have teams of volunteers. There's, you know, I think if you look into volunteering wherever you live, that there might be these opportunities. And like you said, I'm definitely noticing this. This is a time when, you know, not only is my body going into free fall, but your life is shifting radically with children and the empty nest and all of that. And so, you know, and the raft of symptoms that, as you say, that can be associated with the menopause. You know, sometimes you don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I'm even, and so it's not too late. I've heard that you know, you could potentially start taking HRT even in your 60s, you know, or
yes, and it's not just tablets. It comes in many other forms. You can have gels, you can have pessaries. So it's pretty much is a lot of choice. There are implants, but to be honest, I was reading about it last night about implants, and I thought to myself, oh, I can't remember a woman who said there was offered an implant. So probably you'd have to go to more specialized.
So what's your experience of the different kinds of administrations, the different methods? What, you know, tablets versus patches? Do you have any thoughts on this?
It's just preference, is what the woman kind of gets on with. Some women don't like patches. You can have patches if you have sweat. Unfortunately, they don't stick to us when we sweat. The women who suffer with a lot of sweat, which we know that is one of the symptoms of menopause, they won't stick to you. So yeah, there is a gel. There is a gel that you can apply.
Onto your skin, is that?
Yes, and it gives you the instructions when, how much, and so on. And there are pessaries, which is actually, because with menopause, one of the symptoms that we can get, we think that we've got a urinary infection, when actually it's just the dryness. Because one of the main things that happens when we lose estrogen, we lose elasticity, and dryness is part of that. So that is why you end up more wrinkly, unfortunately.
You're not kidding. Oh.
I know. Yeah, dryness tends to be a problem. So pessaries is more localized. So if you don't want to have it in your system like a tablet, a pessary would suit nicely. Of course, it makes intimate life more pleasant rather than unpleasant, because we know very well that that dryness and losing elasticity will bring uncomfortable moments. Yeah. So a lot of ladies do complain that they just, you know, their relationships with their husbands, partners, they suffer because of menopause, and these, you know, they end up in duty rather than pleasure, and enjoying what is supposed to be an enjoyable experience and a closeness to the closest. So yeah, definitely. And it's like putting cream really on your skin. You know, you're not taking it. Even a pessary only works locally. It doesn't get into your system. So be mindful with HRT that if there is anyone, well, generally, if the mum, so if my mum had breast cancer, then I would have stayed away from it, because it can trigger cancer, HRT. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've done a bit of research, and so there is some, certainly, the studies that were done back in the 80s, I think, about the breast cancer. There was some flaw in those studies, as far as I can gather. So it, you know, I know it's not my field particularly, but yeah, I think, you know, you have to weigh it up against the things that will kill you if you don't take it, is the other thing, isn't it? You know, the heart disease, increased risk of heart disease, increased risk of dementia.
Yeah.
Well, you know, maybe that doesn't kill you right away, but
it's definitely mutilates you, I would say.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not something you want, is it, for sure? And then the bone health, which is, you know, the osteoporosis, which is really crippling for people. And you just think times move, things have moved on. We shouldn't be having osteoporosis in this day and age if it can be avoided with you know, estrogen replacements. Then it seems to me that that's something that we should consider. So, you know, and it isn't the only reason that I would be thinking about it, because I've just had just about every symptom you could think of.
And the list is not big enough, is it?
Yeah, I ran out of paper when I was making that list. Oh dear. So the other thing that's on the list, of course, is the propensity for us to gain weight around the middle section, which again, you know, we know that increases our risk of heart disease, doesn't it? Carrying it round, particularly carrying it round the middle part of your body.
Yeah.
So what can we do about this?
Well, I think it's exactly like with the pill, because the pill has the same theory behind it. You find a lot of young women, they come and say, oh, I put on weight. But reality is, again, research showed that is what we eat more than actually, yes, the metabolism is slower. And yes, we do tend to put the weight in a different area, which we don't like it. Especially when we have to go in certain shops that, you know, that no younger person would go. And you're already feeling like you're going downhill and you think, oh no. But it boils down to what we eat and how much you eat and how balanced the diet is. And you talked about bones, but actually loss of estrogen brings loss of muscle mass too.
That's
wastage. So exercise again, you know, would help us in some actually, well, not in some ways, in many ways, to
because
strength up in our muscle, which actually keeps all that bones together. And you know, as you know, I'll let you talk about that one.
Yeah, well, that's right. But so but the muscle is a source of metabolic drive as well, isn't it? So if we're losing the muscle mass, then we're not driving the metabolism in quite the same way. So yeah, I'm all about building muscle and to protect the body. It drives the metabolism. And being well muscled, you know, if you fall over, then you're less likely to break if you're well muscled. So yeah, so it is that is a big part of it, keeping the muscle mass. But I think it is the way in which your food is metabolized is and where you lay the fat down is different. But that if we're not putting it into our mouths, then there's less chance of it ending up around your middle.
Exactly. I mean, we all know that when you're younger, you could eat whatever and you can still look skinny. But as you grow older, have one or two children, and you know, all of a sudden, the weight problem appears and creeps in, and we struggle with taking the weight off. And
so I mean, it's important to portion control. I think is a big thing.
Yes, definitely. And if you look in the shops, we went through a period of time where the plates were just becoming, you know, like platters. Why? And I remember having a chat with the kids, and they were saying, Mum, but if you have a big plate, it looks like you've got hardly anything on it. So you put more, which doesn't look that much. And one of the tricks I do with the patients, especially in diabetes, because as we all know, diabetes is triggered by weight. Well, type 2 diabetes is triggered mainly and mostly by weight gain. And patients, when you talk with them, they all say, oh, but I don't have much. And I said, well, how big is your plate? And there is a plate actually in Matalan sells it. And it shows you how much is a plastic plate, how much a plate should be, and it's got exactly how much of everything you should have in a balanced diet.
Yeah, I've seen those actually. You can get them on the internet as well.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's got little like markings that you fill with protein and carbohydrates, and is that right? Vegetables.
It's divided in
thirds. Is it into like?
Yes,
that's it.
yes.
I've seen those. Yeah, so I mean, definitely a smaller plate. When we go camping in our caravan, everybody grumbles, you know, because the plates in the caravan are not as big as the ones we've got at home. And so the plate is full, but it's, you know, they're still grumbling that they've not had enough to eat.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Oh,
so I think that is a good tip actually, the size of your plate.
Yes, definitely. And no seconds.
Oh, no seconds.
I know, sorry.
Oh, I'm a devil for seconds, I must say. I like my seconds.
They taste better, do they, than the first lot?
So no seconds. I'm going to write that down. Yeah. So the other thing that I know that I think I've heard this about managing diabetes, type 2 diabetes, about carbohydrates, counting carbs. Is that a way that you tackle it with your patients? Or?
No, it's mainly done in type 1 diabetes for patients who don't generally have problems with the weight. Their pancreas basically doesn't work, so they would administer the according amount of insulin to how much carbohydrates. Is a minefield. You can count carbohydrates, and I think there have been diets about how many carbs we eat and so on. But it's very, do you really have time? Do you have the inclination? How long would it last you to count? You know, I mean, we all know how to count, but there is more to life than counting.
Yeah, I like the sort of these tips, like nothing, you know, what is it? Protein the size of a stack of cards, a potato the size of your fist.
Yeah.
I kind of like those kinds of things because you've always got your fist with you for one.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you're a big man, you'll have a bigger fist, won't you? So therefore you get a bigger potato. Yeah, so I think I mean and all these apps that you can have to measure. I'm not saying don't do it if it's up your street. By all means, do it. But I just find that actually, you know what? Spookily enough, I've got a Fitbit that I use to count my steps, and it's actually got an app that you can count. You can put in all the food that you can eat, you know, your height, your weight, and then you put in all the food. And I found that actually I ate more because I'd get to like the point and it'd say, well, you've got 300 calories left, and I'd be going, oh, I'm gonna go and eat
now.
So I managed to gain weight when I was doing that.
Yeah,
it's like it gave me permission to eat more, which isn't really the point of it, is it? So
no. So, yeah, like you said, with you got your hands with you, and some of the advices from the dietitians, hospital kind of trained dietitians, they would say, if you clap your hands together, is what you can put in there carbohydrates. So we're talking rice, pasta. Yeah, that includes your bread, unfortunately, over a day.
The whole day's worth in there.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Not just because I was thinking that's actually quite a lot of
No, and you don't go making a little mountain and see how high you can get. You kind of, is a level kind of amount in
Yeah,
your hand.
Well, I'm assuming that's not dry rice either, because that would go quite a long way, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah. So,
Might
okay.
not be nice either.
Well, I think I've taken up quite enough of your time. So thank you for those top tips from you, Serena, and a bit of insight into how we can use HRT to make our lives better. I definitely am. I'm an advocate. I'm shifting definitely towards advocating for women to get the hormone balance right, really. And if you need HRT to do that, then I think that's what we should do. And that in conjunction with all the other lifestyle measures that, exercise and nutrition and all these other things, because no one thing is the solution in my experience. It's a case of getting the cocktail right.
Exactly. One thing I would say for, we talked about bone health.
Oh yeah.
One pint of milk a day, that will suffice to keep your bones healthy. You don't have to go, because everyone says, oh, I'll have to go and buy all these supplements. Don't go buying supplements. Just a pint of milk in your diet, and healthy diet should be enough, and the body knows what to do with the food.
Yeah, I know. I must say,
tablets.
I know. I mean, I do favour real food as a solution, and I know I have irritable bowel, and so absorption sometimes is a bit of you kind of wonder a bit sometimes. But yeah, I advocate real food as a way of getting our nutrition if possible. Yeah, I think that's right. Well, on that note, I'm going to go and have some real food.
Great. That sounds like a great idea. I think I might do the same.
All right. Well, take care now, Serena, and we'll catch up again soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.